Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show. Luke Taylor back in the saddle. I got my guy Sammy D. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Especially if you're watching YouTube. I know I need a haircut, but I am excited, Sam. I'll tell you why.
I know. You've been high on this next coach here for quite a long time. So I know you're pretty excited to get him on, as am I. And the team as a whole. So I'll let you kind of formally make. I want to hear why.
They have like waterfalls or water fountains in their arena, supposedly. That's what Coach Mo told us. He said it's like a palace going to play against his team. A palace. But you know what? We got the head bus driver of the Huss Bus. We got Coach Alan Huss from High Point University. Welcome to the Full Court Press, Coach.
Appreciate you having me. I gotta jump on you already, though. You complaining about your hair right now when you're dealing with that?
I'm not.
No.
You know, it's funny. I was. We talked actually on the Big South Media Day conference through Zoom, but then I did the American Athletic Conference, and it was myself, Coach Kennedy, and two other gentlemen, and Coach Kennedy stops before we even start and says, "Wow, is this like a bald guy's podcast except for the guy who has all that hair talking about me?" So we really appreciate Coach, but we're really excited. And it's kind of funny. You guys have something in common. Now I should be between you, but we're beside. You're both from Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. I am
North Kansas City High for me.
There you go. I went to Rockhurst High School, so down in the city there. Yeah.
Say it, Coach. You say something nasty about Rockhurst.
When you went to North Kansas City, with all due respect to my alma mater, and you hear somebody went to Rockhurst, you don't say anything nasty about that place. There's nothing really nasty. Plus, I'm a good Jebby educated, at least at the collegiate level. So
there you go. I love it.
So we've got the same Jesuit values guiding our lives.
Yes, but would you say there were prettier girls at your high school than Sam's?
It may not have been the case for many, but definitely. There might have been some cute little freshmen at Rockhurst that were never mind. I couldn't go there.
Let's not go there. Weirdest intro.
I'll tell you this. I had a guy that lived down the street from me, a couple houses down from me, called Brian Tatum, that was maybe a year or two older than me, that used to just absolutely kick my butt in the driveway playing basketball. He went to Rockhurst, so probably helped make me into a basketball player, because he put a lot of butt whippings on me. Then all of a sudden I kept growing, and I think he's probably still the same 6 foot he was in 7th grade.
That's great. So Luke, talking about the High Point Panthers, like, you know, you've been really hot on this team, you know, for the past year or so. Like, I mean, what are you so excited about? Kind of, and I know you've kept up with the first couple games here. You know, are you still high and mighty on them?
Well, it's crazy because, you know, there was talk that they have 3 potential players that could be preseason or could be the player of the year in the Big South. Shit, they could have 5 players. The way you've started, Coach. I mean, you've got 5 guys that can just, 2 transfers, 3 returnees. I mean, you're looking good. And I know you said you're a little bit banged up. I mean, did you expect, especially the transfers, maybe not on paper, to be as potentially lethal as you could be?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've had such a weird deal because Simon Hildebrandt, Terry Anderson, and Bobby Pettiford all haven't played yet for us, and we feel like they're 3 of our best 5, 6, 7 players, wherever you want to move the needle, all in their own ways. I'm not saying that they're going to be leading scorers, leading rebounds. I don't know what they're going to be, because they haven't played games yet. But those are guys that we felt like throughout the summer months were really impactful in what we were trying to do. We expected balance, and I think that's what you'll see. I don't know if we have a player of the year, because I think we have 7 or 8 really good players that are really bought in and are all in on winning. And I think that the product of that will be different guys each night, will be guys that lead us in the major statistical categories that typically garner interest into those types of awards. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of cannibalize each other, if we have the success that we want to have, or whether a couple of guys actually kind of rise up and really on the statistical side kind of separate themselves from the others.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting because when we talked on the Big South Media Day, you said I had the question of the day. And I said, with the team you have coming back and how difficult was non-conference scheduling. And I know you said it was the worst part of the summer, but it's interesting because, basketball purists will appreciate that you play UAB, very good program, App State. I mean, you do have a nice list of schedules. Norfolk State is kind of going to be a tough game. North Texas, UCG, Mo State. How difficult really was scheduling? I mean, and how long did it take you to finish it all?
Well, I think Americans picked to win in a lot of places, the Patriot League as well. So you're looking at a group, that a group of teams that we're playing that are all in similar situations to us. Maybe they don't have the pedigree or the name brand. I don't want to say that about UAB and North Texas because they've had so much success, but they're all better than their name brand would suggest. I think that's the commonality, even though those programs are at a higher level than ours. Currently, but they all share that common denominator of the product that's on the floor currently is better than what people think when you say the name.
Yeah.
It was difficult. It was difficult. Coach Nesbitt does all our scheduling stuff. A year ago, we probably should have gotten all 2 and 3 year deals wrapped up, and we could have played golf all summer and enjoyed ourselves. It was pretty stressful at times. We went from being a favorite last year, people wanted to lock us in, to just people wouldn't even call us back, and if they did, they just kind of laughed at us. So I know that fortunately for us, there were a number of other people in the same situation, many of which you just named. They're the ones we're playing. I mean, nobody wants to play Norfolk State because they can go in and beat you in a guarantee game. Nobody wants to play UAB and North Texas because of their track record of their success. Nobody wants to play a team, an American that is going to win 20 some odd games and contend for that league with in a really good conference. So it's just, App State, obviously they won the league last year. Nobody wants to play them. It's just, you just kind of have to set your default on starting to want to play the other teams that nobody else wants to play. And that's what we did.
Yeah. So going forward, I mean, what's the philosophy going to be? Try to get this 2-3 year deal signed, so you can play more golf in the summer in North Carolina?
Yeah. I don't know if there is a strategy. Just take whatever you can get, I think, is the strategy at this point. Hopefully we can continue to have success. If the byproduct of that is scheduling becomes more difficult, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to like expectations for the year, let's talk kind of a little bit about the Huss Bus. You had Huss Bus Day a couple games ago and whatnot. And, you move into the season, you get the program's very first AP preseason vote for top 25 program. I mean, what's kind of what's the environment like at High Point right now?
I think people are excited. This is a place that's not new to success. We haven't had a ton in men's basketball, but Scott Cherry had a really good run, kind of the 2014 to 2016, where they won a piece of three straight Big South championships. And then they took a little bit of a step back there, and it's a totally different place now. We've got great facilities here, a university that's booming, and a student body, honestly, that's hungry for big time sports. And we have success in pretty much everything, whether it's inside athletics or out. And I think we won. I'll butcher this, but we won the Sasser Cup last year for the Big South for winning the most conference championships, the most success just across all sports. And we're competing for conference titles in pretty much every sport. So men's basketball, it was kind of destined to get to the same place. And we're excited. The student body's excited. I think you'll see we're drawing, and it's a great environment inside our arena.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting because you spent about 10 years in high school coaching. I guess what was the transition like for you, and why did you go when you went?
Well, I loved my job at Lalamere. I felt like when you're at that level and working at a boarding school with elite level academics involved and a high price tag involved, you wonder about longevity. And I was worried a little bit about my headmaster leaving, who I loved. I thought he was the best boss I'd ever had. I thought he was kind of the visionary for the program, even though I got the credit for success. Really, Michael Kennedy was the kind of the visionary there that thought maybe something that crazy could work at a place like Lalamere. I was just worried that I'd seen it happen to other people. Coach Burns at Winchendon was the best coach in the country. New headmaster comes in, new direction, and all of a sudden he wasn't the best coach in the country. I say that in jest, but you're so dependent on administrative buy-in there, and I was worried that that I could invest a lot of time there, and then potentially, it could all go away given the wrong administrators. Now that hasn't happened at Lalamere. They've kept it going, but I just felt like for my own sanity, maybe the move to college basketball was something that made sense. It wasn't something I necessarily set out to do. I've never really thought about what was next. I've always just kind of thought about the task at hand. But when Coach Neal offered me the opportunity to go to New Mexico, a program that was, had a lot of success, I just thought, now's the time. If I ever want to try this, this is the place. This is the guy. I thought I'd learn a ton, and I absolutely did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Then you went back to Creighton.
Yeah, that worked really well. Fortunately for me, I've had good timing my whole life. I'll be the first one to tell you that so much of this is good fortune, good timing, maybe God's plan for you, if you will. But whatever it is, I've been really fortunate. I showed up when I played at Creighton. I showed up with other great players. I act like I'm a great player, or I was. I showed up with good players. Fortunately for me, I was good enough to get on the court and be the fifth guy that kind of set some screens and get out of the way, and didn't mess up the really good players. So then I got to Creighton and was surrounded by a great staff, and we had so many good players that just everything fell in place for us to be really good and help that thing get to the next level. And like I said, I've had a lot of good fortune and luck along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what have you seen from your team so far? The first few games, out of some of these guys, Chase Johnston had a great game. Demarian had a great game. And you got guys, Braden Housen, Kamani Hamilton. It seems like you just have a very well-rounded team this year, who's playing really well early.
You missed two players, Sam.
I missed a lot of players.
I know. I'm just making sure you're paying attention.
Throw me in here, but I'm just like, it's. Early on in the season, you guys are playing so well from what it looks like, on TV and whatnot. Like, how are you seeing these guys come together?
Yeah, we played, I think, really, if you look at it, two exhibition games. We played 4 pretty good halves there. We played 3 out of 4 really good halves in the 2 games. We weren't very good in the second half of that of the Jackson State game. Now, credit goes to Jackson State. I thought Coach Williams really attacked some of our weaknesses and exploited some things we don't do well. That's not a slight to them by any stretch of the imagination. I thought they were largely the reason that we didn't play well in the second half of that game. But I see more inconsistencies. Some things we got to clean up, and I think part of that is the fact that we just haven't had our full complement together. We've been moving pieces around. We got Josh back this weekend that gave us a little bit of a lift off the bench on the front line. But I think Terry will be the next one back, then Simon, then Bobby. And I just think as we add these guys back in, the challenge for us is going to be to continue to do the things that we're doing well, which is share the ball, guard people a little bit better defensively than we did a season ago. We've changed some things schematically. We got to make sure that we continue to play with grit and with a certain intensity level. And then, maybe most importantly, we just can't lose our offensive mojo as we kind of reshift roles kind of midstream here. And I think that's a legitimate concern. And then probably the most important thing is I see a team right now that's been a little careless with the basketball. And a part of that, I think, is the moving parts and having some guys play at some positions they're not 100% accustomed to, or comfortable in. But I can tell you that, we've got problems just like everybody else does, and we'll continue to work until we find our rhythm on that side of things.
Yeah, I can just see a whole bunch of the players that are careless just dribbling everywhere and to class and sleeping with the basketball and stuff like that. I guess, Coach, how do you cure that?
A big part of it, we put a huge emphasis on not fouling in practice. And I feel like we did the same thing at Creighton. And when you do that, the unintended consequence there is you don't see a lot of people reaching, grabbing, hacking, trying to create turnovers in practice. So when you see that in a game the first few times, it can jar you a little bit. I think that's been at play a little bit. I think part of it, like I said, is I think Jackson State did a really nice job. They dug themselves a big hole. But then, they did a nice job of juicing up the intensity level on us and turning us over a few times, speeding us up, changing their looks defensively. And unfortunately for us, we played 2 games this week in North Carolina Central, who's 4th in the country in turnover percentage defensively. And then UAB, who gives you a number of different looks, with some zone presses and traps and things of that nature. So doesn't get any easier, and we won't have Bobby back for those games, who's really Bobby Pettiford had 123 assists and 32 turnovers, I believe, are the numbers last year, which is, I think, 5th best in the nation in assist to turnover a year ago. So having him really, really changes things. You have a little bit of a cheat code when it comes to handling pressure. But it's been a great experience for our guys to learn. Everybody's got to kind of slide down one rung. And we've got some 3s that are playing the 2s and 2s that are playing the 1. And, everybody's got to up their level a little bit to make sure that we achieve the desired result, which is, get shots on goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I wish in high school we didn't foul, because I'd probably have this finger would be straight. And like this tooth wouldn't be fake. But
you also grew up in Canada where they confuse basketball with hockey every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, we do play 3 downs in football. So
there's a little bit of a motion deal going on there in the Canadian football too. If you can figure that motion deal out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pre-snap.
It's crazy. We never threw in high school football either, which is funny. And there's only 3 downs. So figure that one out. All right, Sam. Didn't mean to take away from you.
Coach, is there do you have to coach like the humility aspect of it? I mean, there's when you look at your schedule, even though it is a very hard schedule with some of the teams we've already mentioned, you're also going to Cayman Islands. Like there's a chance. I mean, you guys can run through the season and end up pretty deep in the season with 1 loss or no losses here. Like how do you coach that throughout the season?
Yeah, I've read that a few places. I think it will surprise people and lose a few games.
You heard it here first, folks.
This running the table stuff is silly. We're gonna lose some games. We need, and I'll tell you honestly, we went through we had the nation's longest winning streak for a portion of season last season, and I think it was great. Midstream, it's great to go a couple of months without losing a game in college basketball. It doesn't happen very often. It's the first time in my coaching or playing career that I've ever been associated with anything like that. But I can tell you, I don't know that it served us well in the end, because we had a lot of times where we didn't play our best basketball through that stretch, and we had a hard time getting their attention. And fortunately for us, I think we're playing a more difficult schedule this year. We're going to see some people that they're going to get us. We're going to be on the top line of everybody's to prepare for list. Whereas last year we maybe slid under the radar, in a dozen or so of those wins. That won't happen this year. We're going to get everybody's best shot. We're going to be out there and people are going to clip us and we're going to learn from it. And, that's part of it. We need those lessons. We need to go out there. We're obviously going to try to win every night, but we'll recognize that when it doesn't happen, that there's lessons to be learned, and hopefully that'll help us learn some lessons when we win as well.
Yeah, when you got a guy named Bodo on your team, you ain't losing many games, man. Holy cow. I was looking at his stats and it said he had 49 blocks. And I'm like, holy crap, he's averaging 24 blocks a game. I didn't realize that was 49 blocks last year, but whatever.
That would have been pretty impressive first couple games. You might have heard that on the national side.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sam and I talk a little bit. We're not big into hot takes, more into warm takes. And obviously, what was there, Sam? Like 69 head coaches, new jobs open up last year, 64, 69. I mean, you've been there at High Point now for a year. Just kind of the climate of coaching collegiately. how much time would you say now a coach has to build culture in a program? Before, back in the day, you'd usually have about 3 to 5 years. Is that kind of the same now, especially with NIL and the transfer portal and the need to kind of win right away?
I think that's a great question, and I'll tell you this: it's changed, and it's changed for the reasons you just said. I mean, but if I have one advantage in this, there's certainly better X's and O coaches out there. There's better recruiters, guys with more hair. There's a lot of guys out there that got me topped in a lot of categories. But one thing that I really do feel like I have a competitive advantage in one area. I was a high school coach. I was an AAU coach. I was a prep school coach. The transfer portal's been in that space for a long time. If you don't act right in those areas, you're competing against them. Sometimes, you're at the prep school level or AAU, and you don't treat someone right or don't come through with what you say you're going to do from a role standpoint, then you're competing against that guy 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, 2 hours later.
Yeah, in some cases. Most of the time they finish the tournament, and then then you get the text message that tells you they're no longer playing with you at that level. But I think my experience in dealing with that prepared me. And I think some of the coaches that have done it for a long time, where the rules were so drastically different, has made it challenging. I mean, they didn't have the background that I had, where kids have been able to leave where I've been for a long time. This is a decades long problem for me. So to answer your question though about culture, I think you need to move the needle in year one. You need to move the needle a little further in year two, and you better hope in year three you got to go in the right way, because if you don't, then everything starts to flip against you, and it becomes very difficult to attract the right student athletes to your program.
Yeah. That's a safe answer.
No, for sure. So Coach Huss, we do a little thing called the shot clock here. We're gonna move, and Luke, LT's gonna fire off like 5 or 6 questions for you. Some of them might be one-word answers, some of them might be short stories, but the platform's yours. Some of them might be a little silly. I have no idea what Luke prepares for this, in all honesty. So sometimes I get a little nervous, but LT, let's fire away.
Coach, if you want to know something, my wife's been with me for 21 years, so she's still nervous to this day of what comes out of my mouth, and my kids too. So, but I'll be nice. So, one word to describe High Point.
I'm going to say elite. That's the university, not basketball.
Okay. Well, you said you're going to lose all the games, so that's cool. One word to describe the Big South Conference.
Underrated.
Okay. I like that. That's a good one. Okay. Your biggest influence in coaching and the best advice they're ever given, or you were ever given.
I mean, it's easy. Coach Mack, the best advice he gave me was not actual advice. It was more of just an action that you follow. When you're around Coach Mack, he treats every human being he comes into contact with like he is the most important person, or she is the most important person in the world. And he does that whether he can benefit from that relationship or not. So the way to treat people, the right way to treat people, that's what I learned. And that's Coach Mack.
Okay. What is the win? What is the loss what is the game that haunts you the most? Playing or coaching?
Oh my gosh. Can I give, there's too many of them. I can't give.
Okay. Give me 2 then. I'll give you 2. You can have 2.
As a player, the last game of my career against Iowa on Long Island, we missed shoot around because of traffic. We blew a 15-point second half lead, and Kyle Korver went 0 for 11 from 3 against the worst 2-3 zone ever, and we lost. That game, I still have nightmares about it. In college, 2 things come to mind, right? The Longwood game a year ago, we had the same thing, big lead. I think we were up 16 in that one, gave it up. And again, I hate saying gave it up because they took it from us. That's not fair to Longwood. And then the Elite 8 game against San Diego State, the game before I took the High Point job. I thought we had the best team in the country that season. UConn ended up winning the national championship. We had split with them during the year, and I really felt like if we won that game, I felt like we could win it all. I thought we had all the pieces.
Okay. Funniest recruiting story.
There's a lot of those, but I've got a good one. We're down on Ryan Miller and I from Creighton. We were down in South Andros in the Bahamas on Fred King's Island, where he's from. And there's only one restaurant open on the island, and it's called the Conch Hut. And they flash fry this fresh conch that they catch down there. And Ryan is just absolutely hammering this stuff. I mean, just one after another, after another, after another. And Ryan goes, "Man, this is great." And he said to him, he's like, "What kind of fish is this again?" And they go, "Fish? This isn't fish. This is sea snail." and Ryan turned like a shade of green I've never seen, and I think maybe went outside and puked. But I think that one comes to mind. Maybe that, and the two of us on this little airplane that we had to fly into that island on. That whole thing was pretty funny.
Oh my God, was it worth it?
I think so. I think Fred's gonna have a big year this year. He's been in that unenviable spot, trapped behind the best center in the country for the last couple of years. But I think he's an all-conference guy when he gets his opportunity.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner's been there for like 19 years. He's the Evan Eschmeyer of Creighton.
That's a great name, Evan Eschmeyer. And
yeah, he's still playing, I think, at Northwestern. Coach Collins is still playing him. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Evan Eschmeyer was still in college?
He might have got a 13th year.
Yeah. That's not including the 14th COVID year. Okay, so if you were a candle scent, what candle scent would you be?
I mean, I know a candle scent. What do you have, like a cinnamon candle or something? I don't even know. We'll go with cinnamon because that's the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's off. Okay, last question here. So they're making a Hollywood movie about your life. Okay, who would play you, and what would the title of the movie be?
Who would play me? I'm trying to think who's a tall. I mean, I'm 6'9", so I mean, it's got to be somebody tall. They're not that many. So you can't.
Hollywood's been known to fake height pretty well.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is 6'6", 5'7".
I would probably be I'd be Mr. Lucky. I mean, my life is the whole thing. I don't have a real job, and it would be something about my luck. The fact that everybody must have a real job.
I know who you'd be. Woody Harrelson.
Okay, I like that. He's goofy.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see the look. Yeah, in a good way.
He's like the nose, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I got that. Maybe the eyes, but the best.
A little bit. He was in White Men Can't Jump. So I mean, he can have a little game.
Yeah, he's got some game. You have some game, right?
Yeah.
He said
there
was
a story that Wesley Snipes Woody Harrelson was better ball player than Wesley Snipes, and they had to tell Woody to calm down on the court, during shooting.
He's got some game, so I like it.
Yeah.
I like.
That's what Coach Altman said to him, Sam, in college.
Yeah,
tone down your game, right? Let Kyle play a little bit better.
Hey, I got one. I'll tell you a good one. So Coach Altman gave me one compliment ever. He told me we were watching film one game, and he told me I had a wide open shot, and I shot faked it and passed it. We made 2-3 more passes that went to a good player, and they made the shot. And Coach rewinded it back to me shot faking it, and he told me, "See, this is what impacts winning right here." He said, "Al right there, he knows what he does right, what he does wrong." And he erred on the side of conservatism there. Shot to somebody to make the shot. It's the only compliment he ever gave me right there. Way to err on the side of conservatism.
Oh, all right, Coach Sam, you finish him off there. How do you want to go with that one?
Yeah, no, Coach, we appreciate you coming on the full court press. I'm going to, last minute of this episode, I'm going to turn it over to you. Anything you want to share to the Panther faithful, High Point alumni, boosters, student section? Platform's yours, Coach. I'll
tell anybody that hasn't had a chance to get out to our building that's in our area, come on out. The place is unbelievable. We have all the pageantry and all the things that make game environments fun in college basketball, and elite level student section, all the bells and whistles at the Cubain Center that are on par with anywhere. So come out, see a game. You'll be really impressed with what we have. And to the people that are that do come, continue to come and maybe be disruptive. We've got some tough people coming in over the next month.
Yeah. Coach Morrell is not looking forward to it. Didn't he say they had water fountains and great game day atmosphere? It's like the palace of
for sure.
college
basketball. Yeah. He said it's one of the hardest places to play.
Yeah. So you need to get more people in there, or you know what? Have no one show up. and you play them and just mess with them.
Maybe we can do the. You've seen the Taylor University Silent Night thing. If you've never seen that, look it up on YouTube. You've ever seen it?
No. We know Taylor University. They have two graduates named Chris Holtman and John Gross.
Taylor University does a Silent Night game every year where the whole student section is packed, and I forget what point it is. On like the 11th point, nobody says anything. They're completely silent. And then we're like on the 11th point or whatever the number is, the whole place just goes berserk.
They just erupt. I love it.
We'll have to look at that. We'll look at that. Well, Coach, you're going to stick with us for one more second. Thanks for joining us. Check out the High Point Panthers and some really good basketball games coming up in the Big South, which will be a really good conference. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review to the Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show. And we'll be back next week with another great coach and some more lively commentary from myself and Sammy D.